Jim Feist. It's happy Wednesday morning, and I'm joined by Hank Goldberg out of Florida. Good morning, Hank. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good, Jim. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We both had a good run in basketball. It's been a great March for both of us, and I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to these smaller tournaments and the big one coming up starting Thursday night. We got some great matchups. I can tell you tonight, even though it's spring break in Oklahoma, they're going to have a packed house there, and the line has started to go up. It's 4.5 up to 6. One spot has 6, and most of them have 5.5. And that's a big crowd. They have 10,000. They expect 10,000 people, which is really unusual when you have spring break going on and the kids aren't on campus. But they've done a good job marketing the game. Western Kentucky comes in. This will be their second road game in 3 days, which is tough to do. And that's probably why the money has gone a little bit against them. You know, honestly, I think Western Kentucky might be the better team. I don't know if it's a good spot for them, though, and that's a problem. Sometimes when you start pushing this...
They're stepping up. They're stepping up a little bit. Quality, and Oklahoma State can really smother them. They're great, very good defensive team, and I think that's another reason why the number could be going up.
It could be. You also have Utah at St. Mary's. St. Mary's plays in a conference that doesn't get a lot of respect. Of course, you got Gonzaga there, and that's their best team, of course. And last year they were in the final in the NCAA, and they're still moving forward in the Sweet 16. St. Mary's felt like they should have gotten in. They've played well in their first 2 games in the NIT. They played at home. They're playing another home game. Utah's on the road tonight, and Utah also played well in their 2 home games in the NIT. But now they're on the road and they're catching 6.5 or 7. Utah's going to give them some trouble down low. They're big, and that's one thing in the WCC, which is the conference that St. Mary's plays in. They don't see a lot of size like this, which is an advantage Utah has. However, St. Mary's has played well at home in the last couple games.
I don't have a lot of interest in those West Coast teams anymore, except for Gonzaga going forward. I'll just... It's late at night. I'll be asleep when they play. Good luck to them.
Yeah, that's right. It will be 10 o'clock on the East Coast when they tip it off, so that is late. Anyway, we go on to Thursday and we can't ignore the NBA. I mean, the NBA we're getting down to the point now where we're going to start seeing. We do have the teams that are dumping, and they're called tanking. But we also have some games that are the teams that are playing pretty well. We talked a little bit about it. Houston's playing out of their minds, and Portland is as well. We got some teams that are really trying to step it up and get ready for their playoffs. And we're going to see some great basketball when these playoffs start, because these guys are going to go out there and give it their all pretty much every night. And, we can talk all we want about Cleveland and all that, but LeBron James, I doubt if he can just carry this team all the way like he's had. I mean, seven championships rounds in a row for this guy, but I don't think he's going to do it again this year. But the West Coast has got some teams. You got the Warriors and the Rockets, and you got Portland, and you got some really good basketball teams out in the NBA in the West Coast. Hank.
Portland gave Houston the game last night. They went right down to the end with them, and they didn't quit. It was a great game to watch, and Houston did not cover, and the game did go over. They can score, both of those teams. It was an easy overplay, which I had last night. I gave it out on the service, and I had Portland and the over. So anybody who followed me on that game won. And it was a great game to watch, very entertaining, real good basketball. Had some real good offensive showings in the last 2 nights between that game, which was like watching the All-Star game, and the game the night before where Miami set a record in their home game where they couldn't stop one another against Denver. And I think the finals went up in the 280s. It was an amazing game to watch because they played a couple of overtimes, and it kept me up all night. And but I had the right side, and I had the over, so I slept good. I had a pretty good couple of games with some of those NBA teams. But I'll tell you, Miami doesn't play a lot of defense, and of course, without Whiteside, they don't have a lot of depth to defend the basket. I don't know when Whiteside's going to come back. And they haven't had Wade lately. And I watched one of the shows that was talking about how Wade had a guy who, when he left Miami, who kept him going. That guy didn't keep him going. The guy who kept him going was Dr. Selznick in Miami, and a guy named Asif, who is a former highlight player, who is a therapist down here. And he's great with athletes. Asif, if the highlight fans down here would remember him, he was a very lanky guy and had a tremendous Rabota shot, okay? And but he's been a great physical therapist, and that's who kept Wade going here. But, you know, Wade, I don't know when he's going to be ready to play again. But this guy who I watch on Fox, he's a moron, to tell you the truth. And anyway, he just says stuff. He doesn't know what he's talking about. And Dr. Selznick and I are very close. He takes care of me, in fact. But anyway, he kept Wade healthy when Wade was playing here. And now that Wade is back, he's old, you know, and he can't go all the time. But, you know, something, the Heat is playing well. You know, they're well coached, but they have defensive lapses without Whiteside. They got to get Whiteside back in there. But right now, they're the 7th seed. And what they're hoping for, they think they have a chance against the Celtics. Well, the Celtics are not healthy right now, although last night I think they covered in their game, but barely. But I don't know when they're going to get their guy back. Right now, he doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon, and they need him. Toronto is a team to watch, but Toronto never plays well when it really counts. And Cleveland, now Love is back. I heard Ira Winderman, who I really respect, who's a longtime NBA writer, who ripped the Cleveland coach, who said that, you know, here's a guy who makes $5 million a year for coaching, and he's stressed out. You know, people who have, and what he said was something that really hit home with me, because he talked about people who, you know, are living on a fixed income, who have to sweat out their next paycheck. And here's a guy who's stressed out, coaching the Cleveland team. What's the stress? You know, and he's got to take off because he's, you know, coughing up blood and can't sleep. He's in the wrong business then. Let him go away if he's got a problem.
Well, I don't know anything about that. I have no inner knowledge of what's happening in Cleveland, except it's a mess. And I'm sure.
Well, I mean, the coach had to take a week off because he can't sleep at night and he's stressed out. And is that what LeBron does to coaches? stresses them out?
He sent one coach back to Europe, so I guess he can. But that's a subject for another day for me, because I really have no.
Hey, he's a basketball coach, for God's sake. Let him do his job.
Well, I think we should send him a text and tell him to do that.
Yeah, I'm going to feel sorry for him.
No, I don't think we should feel sorry for him. I hope his health is okay, and I hope it's nothing serious, and he comes back okay and does whatever he's going to do. As far as we have some NCAA basketball coming up on Thursday, Hank. Any comments you want to make on any of these teams Thursday and Friday?
Yeah, I think there's some real good matchups. And some of these teams, were not expected to go this far. And, particularly, I have to tell you something. You're in Nevada. I think that Musselman is a heck of a coach. He's done a great job with that team. They're long. They can defend. And I think that I think Loyola Chicago has gone as far as they can go. I like the way Nevada is playing right now. They came back from being 20 points down to win their last game. They don't panic. And like I said, I think they're well coached. They've got guys who can score. And that could be a pretty entertaining game. But I think Nevada could advance a little bit. They're a good team to watch. And let's talk about Jim Boeheim for a minute. He keeps that Syracuse team going. Now they got to play Duke. They're getting a bunch of points on Friday night. The Blue Devils, they don't have a lot of success driving to the basket. So they depend on outside shooting. And Syracuse is a good defensive team. That's going to be an interesting game to watch. I think Duke is Coach K does a great job with them. He and Boeheim are very close. They've worked together coaching the international American teams and Olympics and other international competitions. So they're very tight, and they know each other very well. That's going to be fun to watch.
That's an interesting... Hank, you and I go back a few years, and we've seen this before, but you almost never see a zone versus a zone. And that's what we're going to see with Duke and Syracuse. They're both playing zone defense. Hardly anybody does that anymore. And then to have two teams playing zone against each other, and like you said, they know each other well. Duke did beat them earlier in the year, 60 to 40, something like that. Or no, 60-44. It was a 16-point game. That was at Duke. And that Duke was not playing zone in those days, but they are now. So this is an interesting matchup. But Syracuse is not a great...
I watched that game, Jim, and it was interesting because Duke changed their defense in the middle of the game because they were having a little trouble with Syracuse. And they shut them down in the second half. But it was Syracuse was giving them trouble for a while.
Well, this is not, Syracuse gives a lot of people trouble, especially teams that don't know haven't seen the zone before, but this isn't the case here. Duke has played them, like you said, Boeheim and Krzyzewski, they know each other well, the teams know each other, they do know how to play against the zone, and they play against the zone in practice now because Duke is playing a zone. It's a very interesting matchup from that perspective. The total in the game is 133, and it's gone up a little bit. It went to 133.5, and the point spread is 11.5 on the game. It has not moved. It's still 11.5. Interesting game. We have, obviously, this is the Sweet 16. We have 4 games on Thursday and 4 games on Friday. There's not been much movement in any of the games so far, except for, and I'm going to give you that right now, Nevada, which you just spoke about, opened a 2.5-point favorite, and quite a few books this morning, and this is the one game that has been moving. Loyola's getting money, and the number's down to 1 now. So we're seeing Loyola money. Now, the big story around Loyola, of course, they come from a smaller conference, and not that Nevada comes from a big conference because they don't, but Loyola has Sister Jean. This is 98-year-old sister that is on the sidelines for all their games and has rooted them in, and they've won 2 games on the last shot so far. And when she filled out her bracket, in case people don't know this lady is 98 years old, and she is sharp as a tack. I'll tell you, when they interview her, she knows what she's doing. She's sharp, and we should all be that way when we make 98, if we do make 98. But she did not project Loyola to go beyond this point. She actually, when she filled out her bracket, she has Loyola losing in this bracket. Now, of course, at that...
She had them losing their last game.
I didn't think so. I thought she had them winning the first 2.
She waffled. She had them winning the game before that, but she didn't have them winning. In fact, they called her on it, and she kind of double talked her way through it. But
I didn't think sisters. I didn't think sisters
she didn't
did
find her
that.
to change her mind at her age. but if she was a tout, we'd be all over her.
You're right. Well, she kind of is right now. But anyway, there's a lot of money.
You know what? She's kind of the Wayne Duke of handicappers.
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say a word. That's on you, Hank. In any case, anything you want to put out there? All of our plays are at jimfeist.com. Hank's plays and my plays.
Say, well, how about Mike Pouncey just got $15 million? He did manage to play every game last year, but he's got a chronic hip problem, and he got $10 million guaranteed. He's a heck of a player when he's healthy. But let's see if he holds up or not. Some of this guaranteed money they got to be careful with. And it's interesting here in Miami because they're saying that Derek Jeter is running 2 teams here. He took the Marlins and broke them up, and of course the Dolphins are doing the same thing. They've gotten rid of all their high-priced talent and starting again. But with the Marlins, Carlos Stanton said something interesting a couple of days ago. They were saying that he didn't want to be here if they were going to break up the team, but he said that he told Jeter that if they would keep the basic guys, keep the outfield intact, and keep the second baseman, if they would go out and get a pitcher, he said he would be willing to stay till mid-season and see how it goes. And the Marlins management was saying the opposite, that Stanton didn't want to be here if the team was going to be broken up. And he said he offered to stay if they would keep it together until the middle of the year. And this Marlin new management, which I think was under finance coming in, and of course the commissioner let him in, which is the whole thing was a big scam. And Stanton kind of refuted what the old Yankee hero said. We got 2 different stories here. They're going to have a tough time drawing people at that stadium for ball games because they never heard of anybody who's playing here.
Yeah, it's a total rebuilding process, and they probably were underfinanced, and they're rebuilding. And Jeter, as much of a hero as a player was, he's not going to be a hero as an owner for a couple of years unless he can develop this product to something that you can be proud of. Right now, I don't think anybody's very proud of what's happening there. But
no, and you know something, they if you look at their record the second half of the season, they were a very competitive ball club. And, the Marlins make a point in saying that, well, they only averaged 16,000 people a game when they were winning in the second half of the season. And you had Stanton, who was, chasing a home run record at the time. Baseball doesn't really sell in this town all that well. I won't take up your time going into all the reasons for it, but it's a shame.
Well, some sports don't work in some areas, and maybe that's one of them. I don't know why.
Not like hockey in Las Vegas.
Oh, well, that's the whole different story. Who knew that you could have a franchise come into a town with all new players, everything new, and then just continually win, and then go from like 2,000-1 to win the Stanley to down to 4-1, and it's like crazy. It's insane. But Hank,
I say hockey, and the dog goes crazy.
my dog goes crazy all the time. Hank, we'll talk to you in a couple days, and everybody out there, our picks are available at jimfeist.com. Thanks, Hank.
Okay. Hey, stay hot, okay?
I'm going to try. You too. I'm going to try to increase this 24-2 record I got going on.